I've noticed that the world is in a mess, meaning the people of the world, not the planet itself, not the physical planet, but the people. And I noticed that it's sick because nobody, or a few, very few, one or two people are afraid to stand alone. And as a result of people being afraid to stand alone, they all think the same, they act the same, they overreact the same, they have the same feelings, and they all hide with crowds. Wherever the crowd goes is where they would go. And then if one man or woman, for whatever reason, break away from the crowd and decide that they're going to stand alone, then the crowd go after that person to try to destroy that person, whether it's a man or a woman. It's like that in families and everywhere. And I've never seen such mess before. I've never seen a society where finding someone that's willing to really just stand alone and let life happen is rare. It's so rare. When I was growing up, it was everywhere. People stood alone. They didn't mind standing alone. And as a result, the country was on its way to greatness because there was open discussion about anything, debates, and it didn't matter if you agreed or disagreed. People were not afraid to put their, debate, ask questions. And that's gone now. And we have sick, weak, pathetic people. And so as a result, Satan is just having his way. He's having his way. It's no wonder they're cutting off body parts of children. They're doing whatever they want because everybody's the same. There's no light. And we're supposed to be the light of the world, salt of the earth. And there's no light. It's just darkness everywhere. And not just in America, but around the world. When I counsel with people and talk to people, the words are the same, the reactions are the same, the fears are the same. I would counsel with some people this week and everybody had fear. I'm like, what are you afraid of? And 9 times out of 10, they were afraid of what others thought about them or disagreements, standing alone. They was insecure, they didn't want, because people always build an army against the person that's standing alone. They didn't want to have to deal with the army. And these was like Christians and non-Christians alike. It wasn't just a secular word. So I'm wondering, why be a Christian? Why even call yourself a Christian and be a coward? Why? Just don't call yourself a Christian. Unless you say, I'm a cowardly Christian. Because in God, if you truly believed in God, you wouldn't have fear at all. And you wouldn't think about yourself as not having fear. You wouldn't walk around thinking, oh, I have no fear. Because your nature would change and you would just be. It would just be fine. It was like your fallen nature. You're uncomfortable in your fallen nature, but you're unwilling to overcome the fallen nature, and you're never going to be able to do it unless you're willing to stand alone. And nobody loved nobody. Is that the right way to say it? That's the right way to say it. There is no love in the world at all. Because if you had love, you wouldn't be afraid to stand alone because love conquers all. And then I noticed that in politics, in Christianity today, in secularism, every ego thinks is better than the other ego. Fallen people think they're better than fallen people. It is insane, but it's crazy. You gotta be willing to stand alone. It's not normal not to be willing to stand alone. I remember when I first started Bond, I used to do a lot of TV stuff, and one of the things that attracted people that I didn't go along with the crowd. It wasn't that I was trying to go along with the crowd, but what I was saying was different than what they were saying, and the people loved it. And now people are afraid to even hear the truth. They all join board, and nobody can be trusted. You got to be willing to stand alone. You got to, and again, it's not like you can't make yourself overcome fear. You can't make yourself be an individual. It has to happen naturally. And it's only going to happen when you get to know yourself. Because it's being afraid and joining the crowd and sounding like the crowd and acting like the crowd is a state of being. But it's an abnormal state that you're living. And so your state of mindset and the way you live has to change, and you can't change that because it's a spiritual change. And only that can be done by truth within, by God. But it's a harder way to live like that. And you're trying to find it in other people so you can feel better. It ain't gonna work that way. It doesn't come through people. It comes from God. It doesn't come from anyone, nobody but God. So you better be trying to learn to stand alone spiritually, because it's gonna get worse before it get better. In families, at works, and everywhere. And trying to get that identity from human beings is not going to work. I interviewed a couple of preachers on my show, and one, I think maybe both, but one preacher, he knew the Bible, he has degrees, he went to theologian school, whatever you call them, but he didn't know the kingdom of heaven is within. He didn't know about that at all. He didn't know what that meant. I think he said he heard about it, but he too was looking on the outside for the answers. And the answers are not on the outside. And I discussed that with him. I'm sure I'm like, well, no, you can't look outside for the answers. It's not here, it's not there. And they're waiting on, it's something going on in the Revelation book that they're reading, and they're waiting for God to return, or Jesus or somebody. They're waiting for him to return. I'm like, didn't he already come back? But they're waiting. It reminds me of, aren't the Jews waiting for a disciple too, or somebody? A Messiah? He's already come, and he lives in you. It is done. The New Testament done it. It was completed. And so all you got to do is live from within so you can live the completed life. It's already done. The devil's been defeated. You have life, have no fear, perfect love casts out fear, and it's already done. Amazing. Yes, sir.
So what you're is this on? So what you're describing is the nature change. A lot of Christians call it salvation process or whatever. But really what's happening is being born again is the return of Jesus Christ. A lot of Christians don't know that either. They're looking for the Messiah to come, like the Jews are looking for a physical Messiah to come back when Jesus has already came. And so the born again experience that you experience individually yourself is the return of Christ.
He's already done it, yeah. And all the thing that you have to do is wake up so you can see him. Is wake up. And once you wake up, then that's it. The only reason you don't notice is because you're asleep. You're unconscious. You're in a fallen state. You're in a fallen state, meaning you're in the wrong state spiritually, because we are a spirit. And that's another thing that was interesting about this preacher. He didn't seem to know that we are a spirit. We are not the body at all. We are the temple of God. This building that we're in is not the temple of God. And you'll come in and treat the building better than you treat yourself. Have y'all noticed that? People go to a church building and they treat the building better than they treat themselves. They'll go in a building and won't curse. They won't curse in the building. But as soon as they walk outside, they curse. Oh, like, well, you just cursed in the temple. No, then I left the building. The building is just a building. Like our body is just a temple, just a body that we live in. And I'm telling you, and I promise you this, when you wake up, you're going to see you just live in a body. That's not who you are at all. You're living in a false state of consciousness, and that's not who you are. We're none of these things that the devil has convinced us that we are. and other people have told us. You're living a life in slavery where you could be free. Isn't that amazing? You could be free right now, and if you go to heaven, it will continue. But why wait until heaven when heaven is with you? Why not just live in heaven now? Because nobody cares about you. People just use one another, but they don't care about one another. Nobody. I can't tell you the number of marriages I've counseled with. Nobody cares. The husband don't like the wife, and the wife don't like the husband. And that's why as soon as they stop getting what they think they want from each other, the fight starts. And now you're fighting for that high that you got before you got married. I thought you said you loved me. I was lying. I thought you said you loved me. But if you had love, you wouldn't need love. If you had love, you wouldn't be looking for anything. You would not need anything from anyone. Yes, sir. Isn't that amazing, though? It's like Christ wasted his time.